and said risks have been mitigated and controlled with the advice of a diligent team of experts. For its part, Unite says it can be proud of the measures it's taken locally and of its continued campaign to try to ensure adequate health and safety standards are met throughout Gibraltar. At today's service, Unite's branch coordinating officer, Christian Duo, said the first step had been getting the day recognised, but he took the opportunity to highlight his union's wish list.
One of the important points, and it's something that is already covered in the legislation, is that enforcement, and obviously other than enforcement, it's the application of the workplace representatives, something which is covered in the law. Although it's truth that it's covered in the legislation, we need to do more. We need employers, both in the private sector and the public sector, to recognise the fact that this is covered and that Unite representatives are allowed to carry out that function in the workplace.
How important is education as well, that employers realise the importance of health and safety at work?
It's massive, it's massive. It's something that it's core. It's the core values of workplace, of people having a living, and going back to your house at the end of a working day, Again, it's something that Unite wish to campaign. It's like you rightly say, we need to obviously come out more public. We have been doing some campaigns. We have in our wish list some of the things that we're doing, and we need to campaign, and to an extent even in the public sector, where we have been calling for government to structure health and safety in the public sector. And we have commenced, and we need to say this, we have commenced with the change of government portfolios. We have commenced the process with the new health and safety minister, which there are encouraging signs which we're happy about.
Well, we are of the same view as the union. We believe there needs to be more done. We're in the process of trying to go further. We've come a long way since we were elected. I'm very proud to say there have been no major reported industrial accidents in the time since we have been in government. There have been no deaths at work in the time since we have been in government. There were some just before we were elected. I don't blame the previous administration. No Chief Minister of Government of Gibraltar is going to want to see anything go wrong in a place of work, but you have to put in place the systems to the sufficient standard that the controls are there. I think the fact that nothing has happened, as I said in my speech, speaks for itself. As lawyers say, res ipsa loquitur. But we must do more to ensure that we protect even against carelessness, because you can have the best systems in the world, you can have the best enforcement in the world, and yet people might sometimes get careless at work and an accident can happen. And we have to constantly be there to ensure that that carelessness never happens, so that people all go back home to their families at the end of the day of work.
Mr. Luo agreed that there is generally more awareness on health and safety, but says his union will not be complacent. In reply to a question on whether health and safety nowadays places too big a burden on employers and whether we may have gone too far, he answered like a true trade unionist, believing we can never go far enough.
The GST says it's noted concerns expressed by the Heritage Trust chief executive in the Chronicle about the erosion of the Old Town, along with recent decisions by the Development and Planning Commission. The government responded, saying decisions faced by DPC are now public, unlike under the GST administration, when they were taken in secret and the minutes were not published.
The government feels it's unfair for the opposition to dismiss what it calls increased awareness and greater public debate, claiming it's a bit rich for them to complain about the erosion of the Old Town. The opposition highlights examples such as Block E of the police barracks, approved for demolition by the DPC. The GSD said the 2009 Gibraltar Development Plan provided for the retention of its iconic facade, adding this plan also did not allow for buildings as tall as the 7-storey development at Town Range within the city walls. The GSD says this development, along with the extension of No. 6 Convent Place, will be out of character with the Georgian buildings of Town Range. The Shadow Minister for Heritage, Edwin Reyes, said public DPC meetings are all very well, but that many decisions being made are questionable. The government, however, says the previous administration didn't take adequate action to preserve old buildings during their 16 years in office. As examples of a lack of heritage awareness, it highlights the demolition of the Roja tanks in the Theatre Royal and the construction of Clifftop House. The DPC says the government has on various occasions been faced with demolition as the only viable option, citing police barracks as a case in point, with the new private development set to save most of the complex with its arched facades. The government says it intends to bring to life parts of the upper town, particularly in areas which had been allowed to deteriorate.
The Gibraltar Day in London will this year be held a week earlier than usual, on the 12th of October. According to the government, this is in order to avoid a clash with Trafalgar Day. The evening before Gibraltar Day will see the traditional Mass at Our Lady of Dolores Servite Church in Fulham. The day itself will begin with 3 working breakfasts with tourism, gaming and shipping. The Finance Centre will hold its lunch at the Guildhall, where an evening reception will also be held. A disaster relief fund for the victims of the earthquake in Nepal has been set up locally by the Red Cross and Clinic Nepal. Donations can be made to the Barclays bank account, with a GIB Telecom premium line also being set up. Meanwhile, staff and friends of those working at Clinic Nepal and Project Nepal are safe and accounted for. The death toll in the Himalayan nation has risen to over 5,000 after a 7.8 magnitude earthquake struck early last Saturday. We spoke to the charity's Carl Valerino.
The situation, in my personal opinion, having been to Nepal several times, I've been there just 5-6 months ago, is of a very, very serious scale. Nepal in general doesn't have running water. They work by reservoirs, which are filled in weekly, and as soon as they obviously are empty, but they're refilled again. So just the fact that all these roads have been broken down, right, it would make it really, really, really hard to bring any supplies into the city in itself. We will probably have to be using helicopters, etc. for now. But I think that food and water are two of the very, very main serious concerns in Nepal at the moment, not just in the city. There are a lot of areas up in the mountains which have still not been assessed, and we don't have a clue of the death toll up there or what is needed. 72 hours have already gone by. Clock is ticking. It's 96 hours today. If emergency services don't get to those mountains within a day, we could be looking at a very, very serious death toll.
So appealing to the community, a disaster relief fund has been set up with some other initiatives planned too?
At present, Clean Nepal, in conjunction with the Red Cross, this morning we've managed to open a disaster relief fund between both of us, and anybody can just go to the bank, obviously, and donate into that account number. Apart from that, we've managed to get some contact with GIB Telecom this morning, and they will happily are going to provide us with a premium phone charity call-outs. So anybody can call this phone number, which will hopefully be released tomorrow, and £1 will be donated towards the charity. This is a humanitarian effort. Nepal is a very friendly place. There's a lot of friendly people there. People welcome you as if you're family. It's a very impoverished country, which year after year struggle on a day-to-day basis. Many of the people that live there struggle on a day-to-day basis to survive, just in general. So the fact that this has happened now, if the international help does not get there in time, in a seriously massive scale, we could be looking at some very serious things coming up in the next couple of days.
There is at least some good news. Those involved with Clinic Nepal, the staff and children homed in the orphanage, which a lot of Gibraltarians actually support, are accounted for?
Thankfully, we've been able, in the past 48, 72 hours, we've been, myself together with a few members from Clean Nepal, we've been phoning on a constant basis and using social media and contacting friends that we've known to ensure that we'll be able to contact them. Yesterday afternoon, we managed to account for the last person. We can now ascertain that every single Clean Nepal staff member is safe. Every single child in the Daldale orphanage, which is mainly sponsored by Gibraltarians and Barcelona, they are all accounted for too, and all the Clean Nepal staff that is based in the city are also being accounted to. So that obviously is great news, but obviously there'll be a lot of more implications now of what's going to happen within the next week or so.
And we'll be back with more after this break. Welcome back. The Gibraltar International Bank is set to open for business this coming Tuesday, the 5th of May, a year to the day since the project was started. The Chief Executive Officer, Lawrence Podesta, says the staff of 62 is comprised of top professionals who have worked towards developing all the bank's systems over the past year. Those who have signed up for accounts can access these at the bank or online from Tuesday. Since the bank started accepting online applications last year, around 3,000 accounts have been opened. The GIB is set up as a retail bank and will offer services including current accounts, saving accounts, loans and mortgages, with credit cards also expected to be available in a couple of months' time. The bank is situated at Ince's House, 310 Main Street, and will open its doors on Tuesday morning from 9:30. This year's Gibraltar Music Festival is to be a 2-day event in September, with organisers announcing the news on their website. The festival will take place over Saturday the 5th and Sunday the 6th of September, with live music starting from 2 and continuing until midnight on both days. You'll be able to either buy a single-day ticket or weekend pass. The lineup has not yet been announced, but organisers have promised further announcements very soon. To find out more, you can check out the GMF website, gibraltarmusicfestival.com. RAF Gibraltar has recognised the efforts of personnel from around command who have made a positive contribution to flight safety with the first Flight Safety Awards. They were presented by the Commander British Forces at DTC this week. To the untrained eye, the airfield may seem smooth and uncluttered, but as we found out, there are any number of individuals who maintain it and offer ideas and initiatives of how best to ensure flight safety for what is becoming an increasingly busy airport, both in a military sense and certainly as far as civilian flights are concerned. 6 individuals were recognised. PC David Ferrari works in clearing FOD, or foreign object debris, and has been known as a serial FOD collector and reporter, described as having a keen eye and dedication to keeping the airfield safe.
I'm delighted. I'm very delighted. I'm very consistent in what I do. And obviously, like I've said before, it's motivate your colleagues day in, day out. I would like to share my award with my colleagues. I'm a team player, and that is part of our teamwork. Day in, day out, the GDP carries out a stupendous job at the airfield, and it's fabulous.
Able Rate Lawrence Miller works as a dental nurse at PRMC, and at Victoria Stadium he reckoned overhead netting would significantly reduce footballs and other sporting equipment finding itself onto the airfield.
Well, I've noticed, especially during the female games, not saying that they're bad footballers, but they do sometimes kick footballs over the fence, and it does involve the GDP going to pick them off the airfield. Fortunately, when I've been doing it, there hasn't been any flights coming. So I've worked in the UK as a referee, and I know that some pitches have netting over the top, so I decided, why can't they bring that over in Gibraltar? It's not expensive, and I suggested the idea, and obviously it got selected, and I've won an award for it, which is a great thing, I think.
Francis Vasquez works with the Airfield Support Ground Unit, the vehicles seen moving up and down the airfield, while staff conduct duties in helping to prevent against FOD. And as we heard, Mr. Vasquez has been described as particularly eagle-eyed and FOD-aware.
Quite good, considering that it's a dangerous thing as well. FOD is very dangerous, considering thousands of people coming during the week. Could have an accident, things could happen here. So you find yourself quite happy in that you're helping keep it nice and clean, and so quite happy about that.
Also recognised was George McNiven, a NATS engineer who is familiar with airfields and their safe operation. He was recognised for requesting that quantity stone chippings around the hangars and other buildings be replaced with a more suitable surface so as to prevent more FOD.
Bit overwhelmed because I didn't think my idea was that big a deal, but apparently they've taken it on board and they're actually doing something about it, so I'm quite pleased.
Viv O'Reilly is a DIO member who works in the safe running of the airport and its infrastructure both on and around it. Described as exceptionally proactive, a problem solver and taking initiative in identifying potential issues on the construction areas.
Oh, very surprised, very humble.